I think the one word that describes leadership is fearless. They've got to be committed. They've got to be resilient. They have to have a faith that they can complete what they want to do. The biggest challenge in leadership, I think, is getting your message out with all of the distractions and white noise and other people trying to get more face time. I think leaders have a hard time getting the media and getting the public to listen to exactly what their ideas are that possibly could work. Okay. There's a lot of competition out there for that attention. I think when a person is a follower, they're a learner, they're a student of the game. I think when somebody is a follower, they need to probably be attentive and ask questions, but be receptive to new concepts and ideas. If they're a follower, they must be following a leader. I'd like to say I was inspired last Sunday. We had 40 students that volunteered on a Sunday to meet me at the Colorado Convention Center to make 1,000 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for Denver's homeless. Well, that in itself is one thing, but to have people show up on a Sunday morning at 9:30 in the morning, not alone. These students brought sisters, they brought brothers, they brought their children. 2 students brought their parents. That is awe-inspiring, and I was impressed with that. I like Teddy Roosevelt. I like Franklin Roosevelt. I like Ronald Reagan. They're all from 3 different parties. They all showed leadership at various stages of their careers, and I draw inspiration from all 3 of them. It depends on who you ask. He obviously transformed the world in the 20th century from one thing to another, and a certain amount of people followed him. Of course, I'd like to say I'm in the camp that didn't follow him, but just because people have ideas that we don't like doesn't mean they're not leaders. They're just leaders we don't like. Kim Kardashian, is she the singer?
Yes.
What does she sing? I've never heard her sing a thing.
I don't know.
Is she an actress? I don't think she's an actress. Can she sing? No. Can she dance? No. I don't know what she does. She's not a leader to me. Growing up outside of New York City gave me opportunities to see different styles of leaderships, whether it's leaderships from a political perspective or it's leadership leaders in a employment perspective, or leaders that I saw in an academic perspective. In each case, whether I identified a leader, whether it's somebody I worked for, somebody that was a professor or a teacher of mine, or somebody that was a politician, I think the lesson that I saw here was that the people that I paid attention to were clear and succinct in what their missions and goals were. The best advice I ever received regarding public speaking: be accurate, be precise, and be seated. Would I rather do a task?
Yes.
Or would I rather, and that task could be move these 1,000 boxes from here to here, or would I rather be a leader that supervises the people moving the boxes?
Yes.
That's a good way to look at it. I don't mind being the person moving the boxes. In fact, I think sometimes leadership demands that you do everything that your appointees would do. As a restaurant manager, I would never have somebody do a job that I wouldn't do. That's why you always find me in the dish pit, because I feel that is leadership by example. So along those lines, I think task management or leadership management, I like the leadership side, but true leadership is motivating others to achieve common objectives. I would think solving hunger would be the way to go. When I'm not in school, I serve on 4 different boards of directors: Food Bank of the Rockies, the Colorado Chefs Association, the Colorado Restaurant Association, and We Don't Waste, which is a nonprofit that redistributes over-prepared food from those that over-prepare it to those that need it. And so as a result, I'm committed to those organizations, and I think that my background shows that. The assets I bring are clarity. Okay, a lot of times we get into meetings, we get into situations where it's as clear as mud. And if we can clarify situations, it makes it easier for all to understand. I like to think I bring clarity to most situations I'm in. You know, I'm very passionate about hunger awareness and food insecurity, as you're aware. I think the Food Bank of the Rockies does one great job serving our community. Not only do they serve most of Colorado, they serve the entire state of Wyoming as well. And they do it on the backs of the food program that comes from the federal government, which is technically the food that comes from the SNAP program, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program that is in place by the federal government. That food is distributed by the government. It is then further distributed in our neighborhood, in our state, by the Food Bank of the Rockies. And they have done so much with so little for so long. They're a great organization. Star Trek. I'm kidding. Although, when you really look at the complexity of Star Trek, the diversity of the crew of the Starship Enterprise, there's diversity, there's age diversity, there's race diversity, there is gender diversity. In fact, on Star Trek, they had genders we didn't even think of yet. And so when you think about that kind of a leadership model, and constantly going where no one has gone before, and objectives, obstacles, and how they overcome them, that's leadership. It's fantasy, but it's still leadership. You know, Rudy Giuliani wrote a book about 10 years ago, right after 9/11. I can't remember the name of the book. I've got that book at home, but it is about leadership. And I think that's one of the best I've read recently. We need to add more words to that. Should we play by the rules or break the rules and then explain yourself later on?
Okay.
The answer is, it depends. Depends on the gravity of the situation. It depends on what rules need to be broken. You know, we live in a country where we'd like to think that laws are created by the Congress, the House and the Senate to make things happen. But we have a policy where if it's an emergency, we can bypass the rules. We can, by executive order, issue any edict we want, and then we explain it later on. And we've seen that coming out of Washington several times in the last few months. Non-commitment to their ideals. You know, a lot of times people say that they're a leader, but they're not as succinct and clear in their goals and objectives as I would like to see in a leader. So if they haven't sold me, I'm not following. I recognize that at MSU Denver, we have an opportunity to make a real difference with those students that are the first generation in their family to go to college. And I think that if we recognize that, that's half the battle right there. But I think that that is a goal that I'm committed to, and I work with several different committees on campus, working with those people that are at risk, first-year students that might not make it to a second or a third year. But on the other hand, I have attended probably 10 graduations in the last 5 years, and there's nothing more rewarding than seeing that first-generation student graduate from college with their parents in attendance. It's fantastic. You know, when I'm on campus, I don't feel like a leader. Sometimes when I'm in a classroom, I feel like a leader. You know, I recognize in a classroom environment that not everybody needs my leadership, but I need to be there for those people that do.